Welcome to Malaysia First, Let's Talk, a podcast where Malaysians speak candidly about who we are and where we're heading. Here we look beyond slogans and politics and talk honestly about identity, belonging, and the kind of country we want to live in.
Malaysia is not a single story. We are shaped by many cultures, beliefs, and lived experiences. Strong nations are built by listening, not shouting. And that's why our podcast brings together voices from 4 generations, because unity looks different depending on where you stand.
I'm Ghazali Abdullah, communications strategist, a writer, and a former TV3 newscaster.
And I'm Nina Halim Rasib, a communications and personal reputation consultant, and also a former TV3 newscaster.
In today's episode of our podcast, Malaysia First, Let's Talk, we ask, what does unity really mean in modern Malaysia? And how do we practice it in everyday life? Not to debate, but to reflect. Not to argue, but to understand.
And before we introduce our guest of honor, tonight let me introduce our regular guests. They represent voices from across generations. So the first up is representing the millennials, or Gen Y, is Rex Dunn. He's a poet, a literary thinker, and a former journalist. And there's baby boomer Taufik Ismail, social commentator and initiator of Malaysia First. And 16-year-old Gen Z, Sarah Haras Fikri, a high school student and aspiring author whose voice needs to be heard. And 40-plus Gen Xer, Zach Chong, is a communication specialist with interests in history and urban design.
Okay, our special guest today is Professor Tajuddin Mohammad Rusdi, a columnist of Free Malaysia Today, The Star, and Sinchu, UCSI Professor of Architecture, and UKM Board of Governors. He was recently appointed advisor to the Ministry of Unity that drew up the National Unity 2.0 policy, where his main purpose is to explain, mitigate, and promote unity among Malaysians. Welcome, Prof, and welcome to the rest of the gang. We are glad to have you all with us.
Thank you very much, Ghazali.
Okay, Prof, I'd like to start off with you. When we talk about unity in diversity, it often stays at the level of policy. How should Malaysians rethink unity as something we practice every day, in how we speak, disagree, and live together?
Well, I've been thinking about that problem for over 20 years. And I can truly say in one of my public forums, I said, we don't really need unity in a sense of 100%. What we actually need is the idea of respecting one another. Now, this is the key. Because if you look at in any organization, whether it's a family or in a community, you don't get unity. Even in a mixed politics situation, also you don't really get this kind of what you call unity. So if you give an order that we must be united all the time, I think it's a perhaps an impossible thing to do. Bringing in diversity and unity all the time is not there. But if we have respect, now that is the key that I have been mulling about. Well, now the problem here is people don't understand what is respect. Okay, they think respect is just speaking nicely to old person like say Taufik, or to young women like we have Nina and all that. Be polite, kesopanan dan kesusilaan, that sort of thing. But actually, respecting others is, for instance, in socio-economy, we need to respect, say, a non-Malay, let's say, because a non-Malay gave me my job. Okay, without him, I wouldn't. I mean, the public university rejected my application after my retirement. okay, because of my being a liberal Malay and all that, and all of us can share this. The other thing is about in the community. If you leave your house, who's going to take care of your house, like the mail and things like that? So we need each other for that. If you look at biologically also, when you are in the hospital, you also need the blood of another person. Once 4 packets of blood put into me, and I ask what kind of race are all this blood, and the doctor say, well, we don't know, it's only O A, you know. So I think the most important race is our blood, not Chinese, Malay, Indian. Tak guna. Cannot save anybody with this kind of.
It's
Humanity.
is the
Yeah,
human race.
yeah. And finally, it's the spirituality. The problem with us is we teach religion. Okay, religion divides us. You know, Islam, Christian. You put a name to it. I pray 5 times a day. You know, fasting and all that kind of thing. But the point here is that I don't know who God will choose to go to heaven. But some people believe they are the only ones that go to heaven because they follow whatever the ustaz says and all that. But they don't know that number one, it's God who decides. You know, number two, that if you do good to, let's say, Muslim or a non-Muslim, it's still being reflected in the blessing of God. But seems to be a conception that you need to stay within your own fold. And this is where the problem lies. The education of these four constructs has never been given to our children to the university, and that is the crux of the problem as I see it.
Okay, Sarah, tell me, in school, do you have that problem or the points raised by Professor Tajuddin?
Hmm. Well, as someone who just recently had the culture shock of moving from being in an Islamic school my whole life to going to a mixed race school, I I understand the point of religion dividing us because it does. Because I catch myself just assuming that people know our customs and our rules. So that makes me feel divided from them, makes me feel different because how come I know it and how come you don't? You know? Yeah. But I think when it comes to religion, yes, I feel divided. But when it comes to race, I actually don't think so. I don't like I don't feel that there's any animosity between the races in based on my experiences. Yeah.
That's an interesting note that you don't feel it in so much on the racial perspective. But I've been wondering what accounts actually for this deterioration in a lack of respect. Do you know what causes it? Is it just our lifestyle? I think when I grew up, I'm a baby boomer. Life was very different and much more pleasant. We all had friends from different races, different ethnicities. We didn't have any hang up about going to their houses or anything like that. But obviously, sometime in the 80s or 90s, that started to change. And particularly when religion started coming into it. And also, may I say, when Mahathir and Anwar started becoming very Islamic, and then they introduced religion into schools and elevated the status of the ustaz over and above the headmaster. And then slowly you knew that non-Muslims started to leave the schooling system. So it was around that time that the polarization sort of extended further. And we haven't really recovered. Our lifestyle has changed. I'm not even so sure, race is another thing. I mean, I do encounter it sometimes. But I always believe that if you look for it, you will find it.
Rex,
Yeah.
what do you think on the points that Nina mentioned? Did you encounter this in your lifetime?
I to be honest, it may be contrary to what many people believe. I always try to hang out with people of different race. Let's say if I spend too much time with the Chinese circle, I would just think to myself, or tell my Chinese friend, I would like, I think I've been spending too much time with Chinese lately. I need to catch up with my Malay friends or non-Malay friends. And my girlfriend is not Chinese. But I think there are circles who are quite liberal. And but day-to-day interaction, I do feel like sometimes I encounter Malays who there's just that very short moment of awkwardness that we just don't know how to interact with each other. I think that exists from time to time. Of course, I also met with Malays who become a little bit sensitive when we talk about more contentious issues, for example, UEC. But what I learned is that sometimes I cannot change how people think, but I can be kind, be respectful, and change how people feel. I think that's very important.
Okay, thank you. Zach,
Hi.
can we draw an opinion from you?
Are you there, Zach?
Yeah, I'm hoping that. Okay.
Okay, your voice comes across rather disjointed. We can't hear you very clearly. Are you able to move the position so that we can hear you clearly?
Okay, I think just off the video.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, what's the question? Because it was breaking up a bit just now.
Oh, we were asking, first of all, Professor, about national unity, and on the aspects of, we're looking at unity in diversity. It often stays at the level of policy. So how should Malaysians rethink unity as something we practice every day in how we speak, disagree, and live together?
Okay, in my experience, I actually in my circle of friends now, I
Yes.
have got more Malays than than even my own ethnicity Chinese, and well, sometimes when we talk, when we look for friends, I try to put a lens that they are just another human. I don't look at their racial profile, but at times I do have to be sensitive to let's say, during the waktu solat, I have to be aware of that, and also when it comes to eating, and then we have to sometimes just go to find a halal place and all that. So when it comes to this kind of thing, certain people find these as barriers. But for me, I find it very interesting. I think particularly because I am actually interested in architecture a lot, and I like mosque architecture. So I actually enjoy accompanying my Muslim friends to go to the mosque, and I get to see and experience during their solat time. And also, not only that, when I go and hunt for halal food, I get to experience more kinds of food. And also, I come from an urban school where there is a healthy mix of all ethnicities. So from young, I have never looked too much of people from the racial lens. And I have to agree with Nina that growing up during the Mahathir era, and I do feel that racial and religion extremism starts creeping in at times, and it does really give a culture shock to us who have been living in a very muhibah world all this while. So when I started school, I do not know a single word of Malay, and I would like to say that when I was in secondary school, I'm able to even public speaking, berpidato, perbahasan, debates and all that in BM. Yeah. So, of course, I do have a lot of Indian friends as well. And at one time, all my best friends are from the Indian ethnic city. And this is, I think, an advantage that I have, living and growing up in an urban setting. Yeah.
Okay, Taufik, the initiator and founder of Malaysia First, you've lived many decades. Can you perhaps share with us, growing up as a child and up to your present times, what it means for Malaysia to be Malaysia?
Thanks, Ghazali, and hello, Nina, and Prof. It's good to see you again. My background is a little bit different from other Malays. I've been in a position of privilege for most of my life, but I also come from a family of rebels. Both my grandfathers had fought and argued with the Sultan at that time, and I guess it's part of my makeup to go against the stream. Just going back to Prof. Tajuddin's earlier comments just now, I'd like to add on to respect, the concept of respect, the word trust. I think trust is very important to foster unity. I think trust is an everyday thing among Malaysians. Let me give an example. If I visit a Chinese family, I trust the host to know that I'm a Muslim and that there are certain things that I don't eat, certain things that I can drink. But of course, I mean, if they offer me a beer, I won't object. But dietary considerations and all that is something which is cultural, and we trust the host to know, as what Zach was saying, what is forbidden for us and what is not. And it goes also at the other level where when you visit or learn from someone, like for example, I went to a Catholic school. My parents trust the Catholic priest who's teaching us not to convert me into Catholicism, for example. So there is that level of trust at the education level, that whatever you are taught by someone from another race does not subvert your identity as of whoever you are. And I think this is something which is very, very important in a multiracial country. I think there's a lot more to be said, but I'd let the others have their say as well.
Professor, have you anything to add to the current scenario in Malaysia, where political upstarts and even some senior political personalities go on the race and religion narrative, very potent in their ways, and the media seems to be giving them full attention. And a general reader to these media, internet news portals will be swayed in their thinking from just reading it. Have you anything to add to how this could be curbed and, mitigated?
Okay.
Can I just add on top of what Ghazali has asked? So, Prof, I feel like younger Malaysians, they often feel torn between wanting fairness and fearing backlash for speaking up. So how can unity actually make space for honest expression without fear? I'm just asking for a friend here.
Okay. All right. Ghazali asked a question that is in the present. But I like to go back to Nina's assertion about the 80s and the 90s, because I am the product of the 80s, what we call the Islamic Reform Movement. I was very much into it, even though I don't join Abim or Ikram, but I was very much into it. And then came the Reformasi, which is something that I took on. Now, what happened was that, as far as I can read it, what happened to the country in terms of the Islamization process. Now, why did the Islamization process occur? Okay, number one, we have this situation in politics where race was the number one agenda. And race was the one that moved the 1960s and 1970s politics to the 13th of May and things like that. And so when the Rukun Negara was formed, there was only one level, which to many people it's rather shallow. But that is one perspective. Now, Anwar Ibrahim and a few other people, mostly from overseas students who have gone to study overseas, was bitten by the Islamic Reform Movement. Now, what is the Islamic Reform Movement? The Islamic Reform Movement was to bring the Malays back to the fold of what they call fundamental Islam. Right? Now, why is this good? One thing why it is good is because it puts them away from the race narrative. Because once you use Islam, the idea is that you're opening up the whole world, universal, and also there is a bridge with other religion, Christianity, Judaism, and others, because you're talking about something bigger than just being a Malay. Now, during that time, the number one enemy of the Islamic reform was never the non-Malays or the Christians or whatever. The number one enemy of the Islamic reform movement was the institution of Islam itself, the muftis, the religious, so-called religious ustads. These are the traditional people who put Islam at a certain situation where it doesn't grow. Okay, so that's Anwar Ibrahim with his idea of Islamization that would put Malays in a different perspective. Now, what about Mahathir? Now, Mahathir knew that he had to deal with Parti Islam Malaysia sooner or later, because even though Parti Islam Malaysia was not very popular at the time, it was getting more and more popular because he saw the rise of Islamization or Islamic movement, especially in the Iranian Revolution. Okay, the Iranian Revolution sparked the whole idea that Islam can actually rule. The ulama or the religious scholar can rule. So he adopted Anwar Ibrahim into UMNO and changed the narrative a bit for his purpose. He didn't really believe in Islamic reform. Mahathir never ever embraced the Islamic reform. He embraced the political strategy of putting PAS at bay, and he was successful in that. And so he let Anwar put in the new narrative. It's where you see the tudung, the janggut and the misa and all that. It turned the whole thing. At the same time, if you remember the Al-Arkam, Taufik, the young people don't know the Al-Arkam.
Yeah.
The Al-Arkam was a cultural phenomenon. Okay, the Nasheed was one time Nasheed was just something you sing at a Quranic recitation situation, but then it became so popular, and the Arkam also showed a different kind of what Islam is. So socially, you can see you have the Arkam. Politically, you have UMNO dabbling with the idea of Islam as the new narrative. Okay, so now what happened into conservatism? Number one, Anwar was in prison in 1998. He was not able to complete the Islamization process. So what he left was a group of people with the early education of Islam, wearing the tudung and all that, and not drinking alcohol and staying away from people who drink alcohol, that sort of thing. Okay, so they never got into the deeper aspect of Islam as a progressive. If you were to talk to people from Ikram or from Abim, you find a whole different kind of Islam. But these people from Ikram and Abim are professionals. They are not ustaz. They learn Islam in their own way. There's a whole other world. So that is where the thing went on. That's number one. Number two, now there is a generation like me who went overseas, and I have friends, during architecture studies in the United States. I mean, they were drinking beer or vodka and all that, and doing all sorts of things. But now they're already retiring. And what happens when they retire? They go back to religion.
It's
So that is where you see PAS gaining momentum, not because it's popular, it's because there's a whole generation is now being conservative, right? And so they also left children, some of the so-called Abim, Ikram people, they set up schools. And I have my daughter marrying another person who is also from the Ikram group, and he never has my son-in-law. He never had a single non-Malay friend because he went from the Ikram school to the secondary Ikram school. I sent my children only to 3 years of Ikram school, and then I pulled them out to put them back in the mainstream school. Okay, so what you are having now, why we are having this kind of conservatism, and that's why I keep banging and banging. Who am I banging? I'm banging those Ikram people and those Abim people who started all this thing, but then they never come out and defend the issue of KK Mat, issue of this, issue of that, issue of even Rakstan and all that. They're silent. Okay, so suddenly one day I got a call from Ikram. I thought they were going to wallop me or something, but then they said, "Prof, now we understand what you're saying. Now we want to learn from you about how to get on social media." I mean, that was 3 months ago. They're very slow at it. You see, they are caught in their own success. They have 70 private schools that they are running. Ikram, all my grandchildren are in that school. And so they are very comfortable just doing all this thing, but then they are not mitigating the issues that's happening and presenting the idea of Islam as a progressive force for Malaysia. The Islam that they practice is the one that we want in terms of allowing people to have, although I haven't tested things like how are you on concert and how are you on all these things, And just to give you an example, I was once invited to high tea for Christmas Eve, on Christmas Eve at a big church. And the guest of honor was YB Anthony Lok. And I saw around me, there were about 700 people. I was the only Malay, me and my son. Okay, there was no other Malay. And I went to YB Anthony and said, YB, what happened to all the other Malays, especially the DAP punya Melayu pun? Semua orang takut lah, Prof. You seorang saja yang berani, that sort of thing. But I remember in 2018 and 2019 when PH won, the high tea was presided by Sri Wan Aziza. Okay, she came and then presided, and of course there were quite a few Malays there. But nowadays, Anwar can't even be seen in a church. Okay, he'll lose the Malay votes, and that is how bad things are at the moment. That's why I've been hoping that there will be more people to do the YouTube and write, because if there is no one to eclipse the conservatism that's coming out from the influencers and the media and all that, then susah. So that is the background. To answer the question that Ghazali said, why is the media giving space to this? Now that is a very, very important question, because I support Malaysia Kini the first time it began. All right, and I know Stephen Gan. He's also an architecture graduate. All right, and I've met him several times, and I follow them and all that. But the Malaysia Kini nowadays, under the new management, are having problems because they have to compete with the influencers who are getting all the views. Okay, and what's worse, the influencers are using their hard journalism to actually have more views than them. So in order to counter them, because this means advertisement and all this kind of thing, but they have to sanction. I said, fair to Anwar. I said, he didn't win the election, and all the promises that he made, he has to compromise with all this other group. You know what the answer? Oh no, bro, we just hold on to what he said before, and now we pegang there on that. Something like that. And that's why you can see columnists like Nadeswaran, Tayarapan, all these people spouting their ideas without a damn idea of how to handle things in the political manner. You have GPS, you have UMNO, whatever you do, you need to balance this thing. So politics is a balancing act. I just gave a talk at UCSI, my professorial talk, and I said that, number one, most citizens like us need to be on the media. Most citizens like to share our concerns, but we must understand the political culture. And the first political culture is you're going to have mixed government, okay, mixed political party. And you know there's going to be some compromise. And then if there's some pardons of some big wigs, I mean, that's how it works, you know, you're making friends with this thing, so you know you have to. So there are 5 political culture that you need to understand. For instance, like the Indonesia giving the Indonesia, you know, land, and then all this. There are a lot of quid pro quo that we don't know, and all of us shouting, you know, why are you giving so much? As if we're going to tell you all the security concern. Come on, lah. Right? So this is the thing, you know, the digital media can either build us or it can destroy us. But we need to be out there, but we need to understand the context of what we are saying. It's not just our principle black and white anymore. It's about how do we move along together. Now I begin to appreciate politics, because only politics is the thing that you know can bring different people, different parties, different all this thing. Now, if you look at, lastly, I would say Akmal Saleh, why is he so popular? The problem here is because of our past education, where Islam is being taught in a very narrow construct, and that's where all the spicy issues can come out. Alcohol, all right, corruption, okay lah, tak apa. Alcohol, more important. Concert, people, you know, LGBT, all these are the cardinal sins. And if you look at the thousands of Friday sermon that I've gone through, they didn't move from this cardinal sins of tradition, but they didn't talk about respect for others, appreciating of culture, heritage, all this. It's not there.
Yes,
So does the national, sorry, Nina.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm just
So
gonna say-
so the National Unity Ministry is having a major challenge with the political narratives all over the place, so diverse, so complicated, you know, and you have got the urban thinking crowd, you've got the village thinking crowd. So you know, you sometimes wonder, you know, where will Malaysia head to?
Well,
Yeah, but the point here is that you know, I was appointed twice at
Yes.
the National Unity. The first time was 2019 under Waitamurti. Okay, under Waitamurti, we only got to be there 4 months before the Sheraton moved. And at that time, we had a good group of people where we already were sitting down, and I said, number one, I said, we must not let the minister answer any issue of race or religious conflict. We do the answering. Why? Because if the minister answer, becomes a political back and forth.
yeah.
You know, so that's why I actually do that in my writing, regardless of I kena Professor Kangkong or whatever is it they call me, you know, or liberal or whatever. But I know I cannot answer. Okay, Fazli cannot answer. Nobody can answer, and I think the Minister of Religion actually don't know how to answer. Okay, that one like cerita lah. So now I'm in the second one, and there is no space for us to actually talk about this idea of mitigation. I feel like we just trophies. Okay, and that's why I just continue with what I do in the YouTube, you know, with the queer haram issue and all that. I put out my own statement. I don't call myself a member of Unity government, because number one, the group that they put in, I saw half of them are not a social activist. They're just, you know, famous academic lah, this lah, that. These are trophies. Okay? The
Trophies on parade.
Yes.
We just don't seem to be progressing. I mean, this national unity thing is just you just throw it out there, but it's meaningless.
Yeah.
You know, unless they come to the table and really genuinely want it and be progressive. I mean, it's interesting what you were saying about the background, which I wasn't really aware of, you know, with the Anwar and
Oh, I can give a lecture on all of that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think I would have to go through it again, but you know, a lot of people are not aware of it, and the thing is, when somebody like Akmal, right, he will then stir the pot publicly and he intimidates and harass, and my anxiety levels go up, when somebody like that talks, because you think, oh my God, that it's like a pot boiling and it just can grow, because they don't think. They're out of control and they don't actually understand the repercussions. And I'm not so sure whether they're genuinely keen on having a progressive country or an advanced developed country, or do they just want to go to the dark ages? I mean, I don't know where he is on the whole platform of it.
No, the narrative is very simple, Nina. I use the idea of this coconut shell with 5 cockroaches in it. The Islam that is being taught is a simple Islam of safe Islam, meaning you are safe as long as you are under this coconut shell. I said, of course, 5 cockroaches under a coconut shell is safe from the cat. But 1 week later, all of them will die. Okay, same thing about education. It's trying to create a safe place. I said, is that the role of education, whether it's religion or other things? I thought education was teaching us to meet the unknown,
Yeah.
So because the unknown is out there, and then how do we actually mitigate and go through and all that? But no, education with the MQA and the accreditation, come on, I'm 40 years already in, it's useless. The universities and all that, they are all creating things. You bring in a professor from overseas who wants to talk a bit different about Islam, not going to find a place in public university. They're not going to allow this. Oh, this liberal, I'm board of governor. I'm not invited by the Faculty of Islam to give a talk. Okay, so that idea that this is the safe Islam. Okay, and the safe Islam is this one. And so if you go to concert, then you're lost. If you go to Taufik's house and have some drink, then you are lost. Something like that, So everybody, that's why the idea of the Freemason takut, this takut, LGBT takut, everything is taught to be takut. Okay, so
Yes, I know, but you can't hide forever.
yeah, but you can, you see, because it's safe. And everybody wants to go to heaven. My friends who are drinking beer and all that, now they are going to the mosque every single day, and they already have Hajj. I don't have Hajj because I can't pay 60,000 ringgit for the Hajj, you see? So, but the point here is that when I tell them, okay, great, you are now thinking about Islam. These are some books about, about how Islam is in the world and how Islam is No, they just want to do whatever the ustaz that they hire to come to the house to teach them to read the Quran, to do the prayers and all these things. That's all, because time is limited before the grave, and so they only want to do the right thing. And this is the group, the conservative group, where you find some people suddenly they get religion and then they start leaving their other friends.
Are they looking for atonement?
Sorry?
Are they looking for atonement?
Yes, that's the point. All the dosa dulu and all that sort of thing, and then they need to pay back. My friend had to pay. Nobody asked him, but he was paying like 60,000 zakat or something like that. I never pay zakat in my entire life because I rather give it to the poor family that I know living right there.
You mean God can be bribed?
Yeah. So that is the narrative, and if somebody were to ask me where I would like to be appointed, I would like to be in Jakim. I would like to be having workshop with those who write the kutubah, because I've studied the Friday prayers, the sermon, and if you want to show how Malays are thinking about other cultures and all that, you just need to look at the Friday sermon. How they never talk about it. They never talk about Christmas, how some aspect of Christmas is good, how some aspect of Chinese is good. No, cannot, because number one, takut sesat. Number two, then you'll put Islam as equal to others. This concept that it cannot be equal. What is this? Is a man equal to woman? Is a husband equal to wife?
Prof, pepatah Melayu kata kalau sesat jalan balik ke pangkal asal.
Yeah, so that's the narrative. I've seen it now. The one group that can fool us out is these progressive people, and also once upon a time, International Islamic University. That was what it was for. But then after Anwar went to prison, it's taken over by the UMNO people who now runs the thing. And even Osman Bakar, I don't know what the heck is doing there, who's the friend of Anwar and one of those pinnacles of you listen to Osman Bakar, then you say, wow, this is a different Islam, this is what we want. Where the hell is he? I've been complaining, hey, Prof, cakap lah dekat YouTube ke apa. You know what he said? I don't do social media lah, Prof. He wants to lecture in the nice room where all the ministers are lined up in the seminar room. So
he's a traditionalist.
Yeah, so like that. Okay, have you heard him? Did he even mitigate any issue? Tak ada. Okay, you got Kamal Hassan who passed away, right? You know Kamal Hassan?
Yes, I know. Yeah.
He published before he died. He published this about corruption in Melayu, right? Man, the man is 30 years too late. Okay, people were praising him. I said no. He's 30. He's a nice man. I met him. I mean, one time, and real good man of Islam, and also understand others and appreciate others. But he's 30 years too late because he was taking care of his, position. Right? And of course, he had to because his boss went to prison. Right? So that the 1998 was the stumbling block, and that's where now Anwar become prime minister. One of my criticism of Anwar is he is not within his time. He doesn't understand the present social, digital media and all these things and the different politics. He just doesn't understand it. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty on speaking up, what you observe as a Malay about the Islam and Muslim community. But I feel like this sort of frankness, even is this sort of courage, like how to say, the minority will think twice.
No, you can't talk like that. Don't ever talk like that. You go to prison.
How actually we make space for honest expression without fear? And again, I'm asking for a friend.
Tak ada. There is. I advise people, mostly non-Malays. I said, don't talk about Islam in public. Okay, it's not a safe place at all. Okay, it's not a safe place at all.
I think everyone is very much aware of that, and but that also overall, if you're talking about national unity, it's just a cosmetic change, I mean, and then you're expecting the non-Malays to actually further this unity. You can't. It's everybody or nothing. Right, and there has to be good intent, and you don't know whether these factions within these political parties, they look quite recalcitrant and quite unwilling to want to have national unity.
Can I just interrupt for give you some ideas? I think first of all you have to take away the word Islam from Parti Islam Malaysia. Take out all these connotations of religion in political parties so that people do not get confused as to what they're choosing, number one. Number two, go back to the constitution and make the role of the sultans as guardians of religion important or enhanced. Thirdly, get rid of all these institutions that divide us like JAKIM, strengthen the National Unity Ministry, give it the budget that you would have given to JAKIM because they deserve it more than JAKIM, to be quite honest. I mean, that's my 2 cents worth.
Well, you can't do that anymore, Taufik, because if let's say the Pakatan Harapan does it, then they'll just hand over it to Perikatan Nasional. Now, Perikatan Nasional under Parti Islam Malaysia hates the institution like JAKIM and all that, so they'll just replace it with their Shura Council.
Oh, can I just interrupt you? This is where the problem lies. Political parties are not principled. stand for something solid and firm and knowable, so that people have a choice. So if you are going to be secular, say you're secular. If you're going to be Islamic, don't say you're Islamic. Don't use the word Islam and abuse it. Make people aware of the choices that they have. And political parties have to be principled. I mean, this is the problem with our country. We don't know what the parties actually stand for.
Yeah, so the thing here that I advise people is that, like Nina said, she didn't know the background of what I gave a seminar, a 3-day seminar on what Islam is, and then, for instance, you have the Quranic verse that says that you, as a Muslim, you need to believe the kitabs, and you need to believe the Prophet. And I put it there. You see, there's the nation building element already there, because you need to respect those things. No. Most of the Muslims don't even know that Nabi Musa or Moses is a Jew, and they're condemning Jews every day. Okay, so they don't even understand at all the idea of Isa al-Masih and Christianity, and the idea of the Bible. Looking at me very strangely when I read the New Testament. What this kind of thing is being controlled by this narrow-minded ustad who never had any discipline. That's why if I was the minister of religion, first thing I ask a big budget to retrain all these ustads, send them to New Zealand somewhere where they are minority, and then let them survive for 1 year. Then orang Melayu kata,
There are more sheep than people in New Zealand.
dan barulah orang kata, you tahu langit tinggi rendah. These people, they've been around Malays and Muslims all the time. They don't know how to feel like a minority. Once upon a time, I gave a suggestion in an article, and I almost got in trouble for it. What did I say? I said, in JAKIM, there must be, under the board of governors, representative of non-Muslim, and also representative of minorities, like orang asli, LGBT, and all that. You know what they did? What some influencer did? They put a poster, Prof. Tajudin suggests LGBT duduk dalam JAKIM. I didn't suggest that. I said an expert who understands minority views. Okay, and also Prof. Tajudin nak rosakkan agama Islam by putting. I said these people are there to advise. They are not there to vote for anything Islamic, because it's a JAKIM. Because the title of the article was Islam is a Malaysian issue. But here, we always treat Islam as an Islamic issue. But then it encroaches upon everything Malaysian. So if Islam is a Malaysian issue, then Malaysian nak kena tengok Islam. But if you do that, then the ulama or the party say, there you are compromising the religion. No, we are making it progressive so that it can grow. All right. So this is where Anwar wants to do. That's what he wants to do, but he cannot do it now.
I think just as well that the rulers took over JAKIM, because that's what they should have done in the first place,
Yeah, as far as I understand, even the rulers cannot control the populism that's already rampant, like Zamri bin Noor, Firdaus Wong, all this, but they cannot. Look at Akmal. The Angong told him to shut up, he's still doing it, right? Okay, so I don't think the rulers have any more power, Taufik. I wish they were, okay? And I was an Islamic reform. And I also now, I said, look, if Abim and Ikram is not going to do this, then I might as well, reject Islamic reform, and let's go back to 1970s, the idea of Islam not part of politics. Okay, I'm ready to accept the idea that it shouldn't be. But how to change it back is not really an easy task. What I said is that you need to follow a certain progressive people of Islam, then only later on maybe you will pull back. But
there are laws. There are laws that allow the government to act on people like Dinod and Akmal and all that. I mean, it's called the ISA. I mean, just lock them up so that they're out of the public domain for a while. I mean,
You're speaking like in 1970s. Okay, if you do that, then the internet will actually grow their popularity. All right, if you put Hadi Awang, all the statement that he had made is already enough to put him away. But you do that, and then you cause a civil war among the Malays, a real civil war, because his followers are not just followers, they are what we call taksok. Taksok means you protect your leader till you die, something like that. Okay, because they think he's like a prophet or something like that. Unless you understand Islam, there's no such thing as prophet. There's no such thing as mufti. There's no such thing. The prophet didn't leave a legacy of that. Man left the legacy of that. Okay, so I don't really look at the Mufti as a special person because I know he stands in the eyes of God. But of course, in the social construct, he's got this power and that authority and things like that. Okay lah, all right. But I don't listen to them anyway.
So can I say that your proposal, or rather the way you're thinking of national unity is to progress, is to get more progressives, Muslim progressives,
yes,
more exposure like this on
because you cannot, like Sitika say, my good friend, friend lah, not necessarily good, but I consider it good, but she may not. But the point here is that her idea is, no, you have to reject. You can't do that. The only way you can do that if you have a military coup. All right, you have a military takeover, then they will put all those people in prison, and then they have press the reset button. That's possible. Okay, but do we want a military coup? I don't see any way, to actually say to this. Okay, number one, we must haramkan perkataan Islam to any political party, because if you have a party Islam in Malaysia, why can't you have a party Christian in Malaysia? Why can't you have party Hindu in Malaysia? All right, but the point here is that Mahathir was right when he said he was the first one who mooted the idea that that Parti Islam Malaysia, the word Islam should not be used. Okay, of course, I was with Parti Islam Malaysia. I don't agree with him lah at that time. Okay, I was very young, but now I think we must not. When Mazli Malik said that students can do politics in universities, I said these are the conditions. Number one, no race, no religious ideology, meaning you cannot have Parti Melayu in the campus, or Parti Islam or Parti Christian, tak boleh. And number two, your membership must be multiracial. If there is a party that only has one membership, tutup. Okay, that is disallowed. Right? So this is the way that if we can do that, I think at the university we can do a lot of things. But you give university to UMNO, they don't know how to do anything. All right, so that was the unfortunate thing. UMNO thinks that it's better to hold the Kementerian Education, which I think you cannot do anything about, although you have 400,000 teachers to influence. But the university is the key to me. But then they gave it to UMNO, and that's how things are. It's no change, and the public university are the worst to be progressive.
Prof, I think so far what you have been saying is that it seems like there are people and groups that they think the country should be based on a Malay or based on Muslim. Do you think this have to do with the political model of nation state?
Of what?
Nation state. A nation state. So, the state is a country, and it should serve particularly one nation. A nation, it can be understood with what we always say about bangsa, one particular group of people. So,
Yes. Mhm.
with this political idea that, we are a nation state, rather than say the state is serving all the people, but this time it's serving a nation, a particular bangsa.
See, if you were to say that, okay, we should be multiracial, even though you have 60% Malays and all that kind of thing, it's difficult to work because there are not many people like me and Taufik, okay? We are confident in ourselves, we are educated. You want to know how many professors out there who are educated but actually not educated, okay? Because they are supporting this kind of race narrative. But what you can do is that, yes, you can have Ketuanan Melayu, fine. We're not going to ask for the Chinese on the other, not. But be the good tuan, be the good leader. All right. So
Yes.
this is supposed to be the mantra of the Ikram and Abim, and all that. I recently talked to them, and she came out with an article that when Zahid called for the rumah Melayu, so many payung Melayu lah, rumah Melayu lah, all sort of thing. Yeah, you can have rumah Melayu, she said. But biar rumah Melayu itu berdasarkan kepada Islam yang memberi keadilan kepada semua. Yang tidak, all the right words, but then it was never published by Free Malaysia Today. Because it's already like 2 weeks after Zahid said that. Okay, I taught them that you want to get published, you have to hit the nail while the iron is hot. Okay, so but they are still in their comfort zone, so they lack the time. So the idea here is to look at the Malay, and I've been asking Taufik, where are this group of Malays to think for the Malays? Sorry, Rextan and Zach, I'm not a pro-Malay person, but that is the rule of Malaysia. You want to change anything, you want to destroy the country, it's the Malay. You want to build the country, it has to start with the Malay. There's no two ways about it. Okay, you want to give the leadership to Sabah and Sarawak, they're not ready. They don't have a lot of influence in terms of the politics of the country to actually rule. Although they are doing the right things for their own nation, that's good. So it has to be the Malay. And the crucial thing is that who's going to teach the Malay? And that is not going anywhere. Okay, there is no group of intellectuals kononnya yang ada this balance of the. Once I was a part of, I don't know whether you guys have heard of the G70 Professor Melayu. Have you ever heard of that? Okay, so suddenly it was formed just before the election. I was invited. I was very happy to be invited because I don't have Malays supporting me. Okay, so I was so happy to be part of the group. And actually, the group was formed by Osman Bakar and all these other people, and they were supporting Anwar Ibrahim. But when they met for the first time, I said, "Good, we all 70. There were 70 Professor Melayu. Now we then can have power to actually change the mindset of the Malays." They didn't do it. I said many times, I asked Makno Manuti, all these friends of Anwar Ibrahim, we need to do that. We have to have the podcast, we have to have the media writing.
So why did they not do it as you had proposed?
Because they only want to be waiting for an appointment by Anwar Ibrahim to be this assistant or that position and that position.
Okay.
Also, wrong generation.
So I,
Get in a way.
because I said this is going nowhere. This is going nowhere. I mean, Anwar
Okay.
appointed Makno Manuti in where? IKIM. Okay. I'm still waiting to be invited. Pun tak invited juga. Because why? Makno Manuti is already old. Sudah nak demam, sudah nak sakit pun. Alright. So again, he put Mazli Malik. Mazli Malik is one of the progressive. What the hell is he doing now? He doesn't even answer any issues. And now I saw an article that he gave to me. He's talking about Epstein file. Come on lah, who the hell cares about Epstein file? We have our own Akmal file, Zinot Zamri Binot file. Where are you? You are in IAIS, I think, Islamic Academy something. Okay? And again, I was never invited to actually have a discourse or forum dan sebagainya. Where are these people? So Anwar is appointing people yang tak ada what any impact at all to his position. And the one thing about Anwar, I like him, but he thinks he can get away with his oratory skill, his intellectuality. It's a different world. Okay, one thing I understand about politics, like Muhyiddin Yassin is a dahsyat punya politician. The way he maneuver things, and when he was prime minister, he never answered any criticism to him directly until one day he just cakap a few things. He never, respond. So satu. Najib was better. He hired other people to respond for him. All right. So if anything happened, then Anwar, he wants to reply to every single question. So people senang tangkap satu then buat a podcast about this thing. He's out of his time, and this is a huge problem, and he's not admitting that.
So this doesn't paint a very rosy picture for the future.
No. It's a hopeless one, Totally. Okay.
But then that's the state of the world as well. It's not just
It's
Malaysia.
fine. As long as you understand it's quote unquote hopeless, then you can actually do strategy. And I have a strategy for it. All right. And that's why I coined the term a parallel Malaysia. We need to form a parallel Malaysia What is a
Okay.
parallel Malaysia? It's a
Okay,
Malaysia that we ourselves, we form ourselves, and we teach our children the values that we want, and we employ our children into our own companies so that we can build a parallel one. One foot we will still put in the real Malaysia, but the other one we have to build ourselves. You want to wait for the education system to change? Forget it. You want to wait for the Islamic institution to change? Tak payah. Even the Sultan and Agong can't do anything with the situation. Okay, they risk rebellion. And anyway, many of the Sultan are not very visionary pun. They're still part of the traditional punya situation, conservative and all that. Even Nazrin pun, I don't know where he's coming from. He's not appointing the right person with the multidisciplinary thing and all that. So that's why I said, if you have a university, if you have a firm, if you have a corporation, then you build it from inside. And if you have Malays and Chinese and all that, make sure that you take them somewhere they can eat together, shit together, sleep together, and also experience whatever problems that you give them together.
We used to do that in RMC, Prof.
That's the point. Okay, so but you must also have somebody like me to talk about. Okay, so it's not religion, it's spirituality. And spirituality is this wider thing, and this is the thing that no one is teaching. The idea of I look at the curriculum of religious studies in the university, the degree program and the masters. I didn't even see any subject of Islam and heritage, or Islam and civilization, or Islam and Western philosophy. Islam, tak ada. Islam and art, or Islam and architecture. Tak ada. Semuanya straight from the madrasah and transform into credits of university. And who's teaching? Seems still the same conservative people, not people with different ideas.
Right.
Rex,
Well,
you wanted to say something?
Bro,
Yeah.
what you say about parallel Malaysia is quite interesting. And allow me to share my thoughts on it. Perhaps from the cultural point of view, okay? I mean, in my master's dissertation, I also emphasize on the idea of other Malaysia, other italicized. So it's like we have a sense of Malaysia that is quite readed by ethno-religious rhetoric at the state level, but on the ground level, we are quite diverse and hybridized. And I think everybody in Malaysia, you will come to realize this. Nobody, doesn't matter what race you are really pure. Me as a Chinese, I can't say I'm purely Chinese. I'm speaking English right now. I eat nasi lemak, although I have high cholesterol. All this kind of thing, we are all mixed. Even in Malay, I mean, I won't comment on it.
No, yeah, correct.
There's this sense that even you look at cultural figures. For example, you look at Datuk Kong. Datuk Kong is a very interesting figure. It's a Malay figure worshipped by the Chinese, but they worship him like a Muslim. You don't give him, kinzeh and arak. And it is a very hybridized spiritual figure. Even you look at Pontianak. Pontianak, a scholar has pointed out, it challenged the legal understanding of Malay, because we all know Pontianak is a Malay cultural figure, but it's not Muslim. But in our constitution, if you are a Malay, you must be a Muslim. And then for some point, it was banned. Pontianak film was banned. But so it has to do with that tension between identity, which is quite diverse and difficult to control, because identity forms is very multifaceted and forms in a very complicated way. It's not something you can just put a limit on it and say this is what it is and you'll be forever like this, because identity evolve. So I think certainly we have to recognize this other Malaysia or parallel Malaysia and to appreciate it.
Yeah, because no one is actually putting out the idea that Malays, even the Bahasa Melayu, is from various civilization. As you say, there's no such thing as this pure thing. But suddenly it's being shown up. When they discovered the Buddha statue, several of them in the Lembah Bujang.
Yeah.
There's some stupid Malay politicians booting demonstration saying this is akan merosakkan Islam dan Melayu. You're denying your own history, and you should be proud. You should be proud that Malays are resilient in the sense that they have the Buddhist heritage, Hindu heritage, and the other heritage, Sri Vijaya and all that. Well, this is all who we are. But that is where the history is the problem. History is being taught Malays, more or less, okay lah, they were Buddhist, but then the best thing that happened to Malay was the Islam. And so you start and begin your story from there. Okay, Parameswara and all that. Yeah. But some say Parameswara was Muslim, some say he was not. But the point here is that the highlight was that the thousands and thousands of years is only rendered 1 or 2 page. These other.
That point that you make about Lembah Hujan, I always see that like with Indonesia. The Indonesians are very proud of their heritage.
Oh, yes.
Okay. They don't, even on their rupiah, on their currency,
they have the
right? Yeah, they have the Hindu Ganesha, and so why should we Malays feel embarrassed or not want to talk about our heritage or recognize it? Or
the tempurung. Yes, you must have the tempurung.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't have the tempurung, there is this hadith that says, do not be at the pagar, because you can fall this way and fall this way. What the Prophet meant was, have more knowledge so that you don't become at the pagar. But the Malays reinterpret it. Be inside the pagar, don't be outside the pagar.
Okay, but what caused this? Well, it's like I was mentioning it earlier in another conversation. It's about trauma, isn't it? I mean, what caused this to sort of look inward, to look inside of yourself, to protect yourself? Because it's so important that you have to protect your identity, you have to protect who you are as a people, otherwise you'll be threatened by the outside.
It's the tribal mindset. It's easy. It's easier to be with the majority of your own kind. It's a simple idea to sell. If you sell a person, look, you must work hard, you're going to struggle, you're going to this and that, this and that, this and that. But the other one, look, if you just, get a few Chinese to give you some money, then you can get your million very quickly. Which path are you going to take? You must still take the other one. Okay.
What I'm also saying is that when is there going to be an awakening?
There's not going to be an awakening.
No, that's what I mean. They have to break out of that shell in a sense of to address the trauma. That's my way of looking at it. You have to address your own individual belief systems.
That's right. I said the first rule about change.
It happens with yourself.
It happens to yourself. And I always joke in a
and that's where you talk about spiritualism.
Yeah.
Right? Because it has to start with yourself.
Like I say in the public talk, always said, I found that after 40 years trying to change, you can't change anybody. You can't even change your wife. I mean, they punya cara and things like that.
Yeah, you can't change the spots on the leopard.
The only person that you can truly change is yourself. Okay, so if you want to move ahead, don't complain, don't blame others, look into yourself. And this is what I have done for 40 years, and that's why I have been quote-unquote successful on my own. I'm a lone ranger. I don't need anybody. I can just, survive on my own. So the point here is that other people have this notion that it's better to be part of the larger pack, okay, which is easy to sell, and part of the majority, and then you feel safe. Just follow what the majority says. Other people are enemies. So then we can make sure that we control these things with management and all that, and so we will prosper. It's an easy thing to sell. Okay,
ladies and gentlemen, tonight's conversation reminds us that unity isn't something we declare. Okay, it's something we practice quietly and consistently in how we speak, listen, and treat one another.
Yeah, well, unity doesn't mean that we all think the same. But it means to stay curious, we stay respectful, and we don't stop listening even when it's uncomfortable.
Thank you to Professor Tajuddin Razdi and to all our guests from across generations for sharing your candid honesty and perspectives.
And thank you to our listeners. Malaysia is not a single story. And the more we listen to one another, the stronger and richer that story becomes.
This has been Malaysia First. Let's talk. Until next time, listen before shouting. Good night, everybody.